Hello everyone, I hope you can see me. I am just going to go and set up here and see if I can join this post on my phone, and then I can see if anybody's got any questions. Bear with me a moment. Let's have a look. And Oxfordshire. Bear with me a second, we're getting there. Be great if somebody can tell me they can see me, that would be brilliant. Posts. Sorry, you'll have to bear with the technical limitations of this Luddite here. I'm going to be talking about birth partners shortly, once I am all set up. Right, okay, so hello, my name's Eleanor Fowler. I am a birth and postnatal doula. I live in Oxfordshire, or just on the border of Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, and I've been asked to do a little talk about being an effective birth partner and some top tips. So, Eleanor Fowler, I've been a full-time doula for 12 years. I've supported about 150 births, and I'm going to hopefully give you and your partner some tips about how to be a great birth partner. So, thing to know about birth partners: a good birth partner provides absolutely 100% unconditional physical, mental and emotional support to the lady giving birth. They are 100% focused on you and will do pretty much anything you need. It doesn't matter if you're the person's life partner, their husband, wife, sister, mother, neighbour, friend, doula, it's the same preference. The birthing woman is the star of the show and you're there to support them with whatever happens. So, top tip, do some birth preparation together. You know mum's going to do all of the hard work when she's actually giving birth. You can do some hard work before she gives birth. I appreciate it's difficult to do birth preparation now in this current climate, but there's plenty of online stuff. There's one-to-one stuff available online. I believe NCT have gone online. There's books, there's videos, there's even YouTube videos which could help you support some birth preparation. Now, talk about it. Talk about preferences. Talk about pet hates. Talk about fears. Talk about desires. Because what one woman wants to give birth like is very different to what another woman wants to give birth like. And in the current climate, what you think you might have wanted a few months ago might have very much changed. Some women might have envisaged a home birth and now want to be in and out of hospital as quickly as possible and just get their baby home safe. So talk about it and then discuss maybe you're doing a birth plan as well. If you've got a birth plan, it can go in the notes. That's a really good way to communicate to your midwife what you want. Next top tip, pack the hospital bag together, okay? So as a birth partner, you're the one that's going to be scrabbling through the bag. Mum might say, I want my lip balm. Mum might say, I want my TENS machine, or I want my flannel that's in the purple sponge bag. If you don't know where the purple sponge bag is and you're scrabbling, it shouldn't be on her to tell you where it is. So pack the bag together. Please don't pack for a 2-week holiday, particularly in the current climate. You're not going to be in hospital for a long period of time. So birth partners, you've got to carry all this stuff as well. So bear in mind that whatever you take to hospital, birth partners, probably you're carrying it. The ideal, 3 small bags, 3 small like rucksacks. So one is for mum after the baby's come, nightie, dressing gown, slippers, all of that kind of stuff. The other bag is for baby after the birth. You don't need a whole packet of nappies, 10 or 12 is fine, sleep suits, blankets, that kind of stuff. And then a bag for all your labour bits and bobs, which includes food and drink for you and your partner. The ideal scenario is birth partner. You can take the labour bag home again with you afterwards. So mum just goes to the postnatal ward with the bag for her, bag for baby. I can see lots of questions coming in, so I will go through them afterwards. And if I miss any questions by the end of the session, I will log on again tomorrow and I will do some text replies if that's okay. I've got my glasses on my head I've got my phone down here, so I will have to put my glasses on to see the actual questions to answer them. So you'll have to bear with me at some point. It's old lady problems. Okay, so a few essentials that I would say that would go into the birth bag. Lip balm, flannel, you know, it gets quite hot in hospitals. You can get cold water on a flannel, or a cool water spray if you can get to a chemist. They do like Evian sprays, that kind of. Depending on the length of the woman's hair that's giving birth, a bobble or headband, that kind of thing to keep your hair out of your face. An eye mask and headphones are great. Sometimes women want to sort of self-isolate from all the stuff that might be going on to help them concentrate. Phone charger, super important, particularly as at some point you might be separated from your birth partner, so you want to be able to stay in contact. I always have Dettol wipes in my doula bag when I go. So a lot of hospitals don't have ensuite rooms for delivery. So you have the birthing mum and the partner would have to use a communal loo to go to the toilet or have a shower. And particularly in current climate, you might feel very confident or much more confident having some Dettol wipes at your disposal. Flip-flops, sports bottles with those straws that go all the way down to the bottom, or bendy straws. Nobody wants to be faffing about with picking bottles up when they're in labour. And if mum's done a playlist, birth partner, you need to know where the playlist is, what it's called, how to get to it, no faffing involved. So if it's a hypnobirthing track or just the music or whatever, again, it's not up to mum to find the playlist, it's up to you to just go, ding, found it, music playing. For me, as a birth partner, I always have paracetamol in my bag and I always have Pro Plus in my bag. So of course, mum giving birth, you're only having medication that's given to you by the hospital. But as a birth partner, if you get a dehydration headache, or you are shattered because you've been awake for 2 days, or you've just got a thumping head because it's hot in the room, you're not going to get paracetamol and stuff from the hospital. And it's really hard to give 100% focus to the birthing mum if you've got a thumping head. So paracetamol, Pro Plus, and any other medication that you might need is a must for you. The other thing I always carry is aromatherapy oils. So I know the JR and Wallingford, lots of other birth centres have access to aromatherapy oils, and they certainly have diffusers that you can borrow, but they might not have the smells that you like. So my 3 top aromatherapy oils, either for massage or to put in a diffuser, are lavender, great for calming the situation down, great for calming just the environment completely, smells quite nice. Some women feel like it smells like old ladies, so they might not like it, but it is a really, really good one. The next top tip would be black pepper. So it's a strange thing, and if you've not smelt it in an aromatherapy oil, you wouldn't really recognise the smell, but it actually has pain relieving properties as well. And particularly if you put it in a massage oil blend or just in a carrier oil to massage onto a lady's back, it can actually be really, really soothing. So black pepper is a really great one. And my third one is frankincense oil. So at some point in labour, a lot of women will have a little panicky moment, either at the changeover from early labour to established labour, or a change of environment, so going from home to hospital, or at transition when they're getting ready to push. Lots of women have that panicky moment, and I recommend a tiny drop of frankincense oil on the palm of your hand, then a sniff, and it calms people really, really far down. So those are my 3 top tips. Obviously I carry lots and lots, and I've got lots of experience in using aromatherapy oils, but those are 3 really, really great ones. Labour bag, I would suggest food and drink for you both. Midwives, the NHS, fantastic. Labouring mums, star of the show. If you want something to eat, they're going to feed you. If you want a drink, they'll get a drink for you. Birth partners, not so much. You're not the star of the show, you're the supporting act, and there isn't food and provision for you generally. Lots of midwives will give you a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, but no food and drink, and you could be there for some time. In an ordinary world, you can go to a vending machine, you can go to the M&S, you can go to a restaurant, you can even order pizza in, but in coronavirus times, that's not going to happen. So a big bag of food, you can either leave it with mum after she's had the baby, or you can take it away with you, but if you haven't got it, you can't eat it. Most people remember sweet stuff, you know, flapjacks, cereal bars, dried nuts and fruits, all of those are really, really popular. They're great. But if you're there for 24 hours, you might be really, really grateful for some savoury stuff. You can actually freeze sandwiches. So if you want to do that, you're expecting a baby soon, you can always throw some sandwiches in the freezer and then just grab them at the last minute. They stay fresh, they defrost, on your way. I've just seen a comment come up. Are you given towels if you need to take a shower? And are you given hygienic pads? Yes, you're given towels. They do have some maternity towels there, maternity sanitary pads there, but it's best to take your own as well because it's not an unlimited supply. So the other thing about taking food is, particularly in the current environment, birth partners are really limited to where they can go in the hospital. You're only allowed to join mum when she's in established labour. They're advising birth partners not to be out and about in the hospital until, unless it's absolutely necessary. So really you're confined to a room with mum. So take everything that you might need with you in terms of food and drink. Lots of lists online about recommendations, but basically go with stuff that you like. Obviously, any dietary requirements, celiac, vegan, etc., you need to cater for yourself, so make sure you've got appropriate food and drink. A change of clothes for birth partners are really, really important. It gets pretty hot and stuffy in hospitals, particularly now as the weather's getting nice, and I'm sorry to say there will be bodily fluids around the place, so you might be very glad to have a change of clothes with you. Thin, light clothes are, a few layers is great. Shorts, brilliant. Planning to jump in the pool with mum, don't forget swimming costume, you'll need it. Couple of other things to remember as a birth partner. Before you leave home, do you know where mum's notes are? Do you know where the phone number for the delivery suite is? Because it's going to be you that's actually ringing the midwife and speaking to them on the first instance. Have you got fuel in the car? Have you got a bag full of change for the car park? Don't bank on the fact that there's going to be an app available or a card paying machine available, because that's not always the case. When you set off for hospital, mum will need to be sitting on a towel or some sort of absorbent pad unless her waters are broken already. You don't want to be worrying about your upholstery. And the same basis if you've got a bucket or a bowl available, because lots of mums vomit in labour, and if you're worried about the upholstery in your car, you're not going to be calm and stress-free, so you don't want to be communicating that to mum. So, once labour starts, I'm sure lots of you have done some preparation and you know kind of what you're going to be doing. You need to stay at home. You're probably sick of being told to stay at home. But until labour really gets going, the best place for you is to stay at home. If you go to hospital too soon and mum's not in established labour, she's actually going to potentially be sent home, which is quite disheartening for her and for you if you get there all excitement, think it's all going to happen, and then she's not in quite advanced enough labour to be admitted, so you get sent home again. The other worst case scenario at the moment is mum is admitted to hospital, put on the antenatal ward, and you're sent home again. Current restrictions on visitors and birth partners are that you are only allowed to join the birthing mum when she's in established labour. Yeah, it is what it is, but it's better to stay at home for as long as possible. Unless you live a long way away or it's medically indicated that you need to be in hospital sooner, the rule of thumb is you stay at home until your contractions are 3 contractions in 10 minutes. Each contraction is lasting a good minute. They're all of an intensity that is stopping mum in her tracks and she really needs to concentrate breathing through. And each contraction is lasting a good 60 seconds. That's the time to set off for hospital. Don't forget to ring the midwives before you set off so they know you're coming. So, another question that I can see, any indication about when restrictions on birthing partners will be relaxed? No, I'm afraid not at the moment. I think it's very much a developing situation and it's, one day at a time. I very much hope that hospitals will be able to allow birthing partners to not only stay overnight, join people in an early labour and induction very, very soon, and to go back to previous levels of support where you can have 2 birthing partners. So you can have partner and mum, partner and doula, or whatever. But at the moment, it's from an infection control point of view that it's very much one birth partner at a time. So, once labour starts, you're going to stay at home. When you stay at home, birthing partner, your job is to pander to mum's every whim. Feed her, make sure she's drinking regularly. Early labour, I would say, stick to meal times and snacks in between. Distraction is the key, so go for walks, bounce on a ball, watch box sets, do whatever you think is a good distraction. You know, if mum's got a hobby, with that. Obviously you can't go for long walks, social distancing, yada yada yada, but there's a lot you can do at home to distract mum. In as much as everybody knows about upright, mobile, keep active, if mum is tired, have a rest. Early labour can last a couple of days sometimes, so it's important to rest when the feeling takes you. For you as well as a birth partner, you know, you're going to be awake a long time. So sometimes the best thing to do is get in a darkened room, have a cuddle, everybody try and have a sleep, just relax and rest and, you know, see if you can conserve energy. So it's a balance. Don't rest all the time, don't be active all the time. The other thing to say is, as much as you'll be pandering to mum and you'll be reminding her to eat and drink, if she wants to be left alone sometimes to have some space, don't take that personally. Just let her have some quiet time, because sometimes she's like, just leave me alone and let me be calm. That's okay too. The other thing to remember is, if you're reminding her to eat and drink regularly, you need to remind her to wee regularly. I know it sounds daft, but lots of labouring mums forget to go for a wee. You've got a lot going on in your body, a lot of intensity, a lot of sensations in that general area. It's easy to forget to go for a wee. And if your bladder gets overinflated, think where your bladder is, think where the baby's head needs to be. The two things haven't got, you know, unlimited room, so it's good to wee regularly. And it's a little doula trick of mine that if mum's got into a really comfy spot, and she's been in a really comfy spot for a long time, and I think it might be time for her to move about and mobilise a little bit, if I ask her to move, she's going to be cross. If I ask her to go for a wee, she's like, yeah, okay, I'll go for a wee. Easy peasy. So it's something you can do very easily. So next thing to remember is, as labour progresses, her desire to eat and drink might change. So little and often is better than trying to, you know, force a large bowl of spaghetti bolognese down or something. So little and snacks is great. Her tastes might change. 1 minute she might have fancied a plate of something, and the next minute she'll push it away. But just try and still offer little and often. So once labour gets going, and hopefully things will get going in a reasonable amount of time so that you can actually see the change from early labour to established labour, the three things I always look for as a doula are the 3 R's. Not reading, writing and arithmetic, for those who are homeschooling. It's relaxation, rhythm and repetition. So relaxation is important for labouring mums. Lots of women, when they're having contraction, do hold tension because it's, you know, it's massive sensation that they're not used to. So you might see them furrowing their brow, lifting their shoulders, clenching their fists. Some women can't relax that tension during a contraction, but between contractions, it's really, really important that they relax that tension, get some oxygen into their body, have a break and prepare for the next contraction. So rather than telling them to relax, which might just actually get you growled at, you know, you can just touch the point that is, you know, feeling tense, and that will often tell them to relax a little bit. The next R to look out for is rhythm. So once women get into the flow of labour, usually what you can see is some sort of rhythmic motion. It'll either be an action, so swaying, or bouncing, or pacing possibly. It might be a sound, so it might be moaning, it might be groaning, it might be mooing, it could be all sorts of things. It might be a mantra, I can do this, I'm doing this. Or it actually might be a silent repetition, so something that she is saying to herself in her mind during the contraction, which is a lot harder to see from the outside. It's okay after a contraction what was going through your mind then, and she might say something like, well, I was counting. When I get to 15 or when I get to 20, I know the contraction's nearly finished. And then you know that actually she's coping really well. And following on from that, you've got repetition. So you'll begin to see that she does the same mantra, the same motion, the same swaying, the same sound pattern. She'll just look the same with each contraction. And that's an indication that she's coping really, really well. If it's random motions, frenetic, different every time, maybe she needs some help to get into some sort of, you know, rhythm and repetition. In which case you can use physical touch, you can sway with her, you can hold her hands, you can do something rhythmic, even speak in a rhythmic way, and it will help her get into a rhythmic pattern. Women cope brilliantly in labour once they find their mantra. Once they find the 3 R's, they cope super, super well. But at every point, some women will have a wobbly moment. Either a change of scenery, so when you go to hospital, a change in their labour pattern, so from early labour to established labour, or established labour into transition, or just an adrenaline rush because they suddenly are anxious about something. But if you know the mantra they were in, the pattern they were in, the rhythm they were in, you can help them get back to it. And following on from that, once you get to hospital, you will be separated from the labouring mum for a period of time. Once she's being triaged, once she's being booked in and assessed to see if she's in established labour enough to be booked in and given a room, you'll have to wait outside in the car. So if you know the mantra she's in and know the pattern she's in, you can use that via FaceTime, via text, via voicemail, that kind of thing, to make sure she stays in that pattern to try and keep her calm. Something that I often suggest to women who might go into hospital on their own, or we might be separated for a little while, is to take a little keepsake with them as well. Either, if you're their life partner, a photo of you, a scan picture perhaps, a pillow or a teddy bear that smells like home, even a picture of the dog if that's their keepsake from home. But lots of women find it really useful to have something physical that they can hold in their hand and have with them while they haven't got the physical support of their birth doula or birth partner, sorry. Old habits die hard. So the other thing to remember is something you can prepare for beforehand is some birth affirmations. Again, it really helps if you're actually physically separated from the birthing lady. But some birth affirmations, it doesn't have to be anything too hippie, it doesn't have to be anything too out there. It can be just something that really appeals to the woman. So, I can do this, or I'm going to meet my baby soon, or I'm going to be a mum, or it could be I trust my body, or I'm not frightened of the power of contractions. So go through a few things. There's lots and lots of examples online. Even if you're not doing something as specific as hypnobirthing, you can look at some birth affirmations and find something that appeals to her. And then again, if you're either with her and she's panicking, you're with her and she's trying to focus, or you're separated from her, you can use those birth affirmations as something familiar to bring her back into her safe, calm birthing space. Talk to your midwife. She's there for you. Yes, she's there for mum, she's there for baby, but she's there for you as a team. If there's equipment you'd like to use, or mum would like to use, but you can't see it, birthing balls, bean bags, birth stools, anything like that, ask. It might not be immediately evident, but I'm sure there will be something somewhere that they can find for you. You certainly don't need to take birth balls with you. They have them there on the unit. As labour progresses, depending on what is happening, any obstetric recommendations, any recommendations for, labour, ask what your options are, particularly if having discussed with mum, that it's something that she might not feel comfortable with. Ask what your options are. There's a recommended path by the NHS, and it's usually, for the safety and comfort of the mum and the baby. But there's very often options, and sometimes the options are do nothing and just wait and see. But do ask what your options are. If you don't ask, you won't get any answers. So don't be afraid to ask your midwife. They are your friends. In terms of pain relief, as a birthing partner, it's really tough to watch a lady go through something that you can see is painful, you can see it's really powerful, and you can see that it's something that you're not seen this woman go through before. If it's your loved one, it's really difficult to watch them apparently in pain. And a lot of default positions, men, I'm sorry, but it's often for you that your default position is make it go away, fix it, which kind of leads on to pain relief. Some women don't need pain relief, they don't want pain relief, or they actually in their heads think they're doing fine. And if somebody says you look like you're struggling, do you want pain relief? They then start to doubt themselves. So what I would say is make yourself familiar with what your pain relief options are, all the way from TENS machines, water pools, paracetamol, right the way through to epidural at the other end. Know what your partner's preferences are, and then rather than offer pain relief, if the birthing woman says, I'm struggling, I need something, then you can say, well, we could always go and have a bath. Or should we put your TENS machine on now? It might be worth checking that you know how the TENS machine works before you offer that. So that's something to do before you get to hospital. But you don't always have to jump to the thing that you know will take all the pain away, which is an epidural. Obviously, your midwife knows what all the pain relief options are, but if you know what's on offer, it's sometimes easier to support the woman through that. Birthing partners, I've been at 150 births. I still have one or two areas that make me feel uncomfortable. But for you, you need to recognise what your triggers might be. If needles are not your thing, or if blood is not your thing, or poo is not your thing, you need to recognise that and own up to it. And then either make your midwife aware or be aware yourself. So if it's something that's going to make you faint, you're not going to be a very good birth partner, you need to say to your midwife, if I see a needle, I'm going to pass out on the floor, and your midwife will help make sure that you don't see a needle. If it's just an aversion to poo or vomit, which may well happen, be mindful. Try and stay at a different end of business and stay away from it. You know, labour can be, you know, quite messy, quite scary. It's beautiful, it's amazing, but if it's something that's going to trigger you, you need to recognise that in yourself. If you're going to be a birth partner and be 100% there for the labouring women, take a deep breath and look away, or you just need to suck it up and get on with it. So, but it's worth thinking about now. Obviously, I've done it a lot of times. My thing is episiotomies. If I think there's going to be episiotomy, I'm elsewhere. I'm looking away. I'm making a strategic exit to the bathroom just at that moment if I have to. So just recognise that in yourself. Again, comes down to preparation and a bit of research. Take a lot of photos. You can always delete them afterwards, but birth is an amazing thing. It's a long journey, it has its ebbs and flows, but it's an amazing experience, and you don't ever get that experience back again. Mum won't necessarily have the wherewithal to remind you to take photos, but do turn the flash off, because it can be quite distracting if you see the flashing of the camera going on, and be a little bit understanding of where you're pointing the camera as well. Mum won't thank you afterwards. So when baby's here, bear in mind, however tired you are, however emotional you are, however exhausted you are, mum's also feeling that way, times 10, times 100, and she'll be probably sore as well, and possibly dehydrated, and possibly hungry. Be there for her. Don't put yourself first, put yourself in her shoes. If somebody brings her a cup of tea and she's too sore to reach for her cup of tea and have a drink, then you need to remember that, you know, it's your job to pass her the cup of tea. If she wants to stand up to go for a wee but she feels too wobbly to do it, it's your job to help her actually get to the toilet and be safe and get back again. She might need your help to put on a new change of clothes to feel human again. And then once she feels more human again, once she's brushed her hair and possibly put some makeup on, then absolutely take some more photos. And then lastly, I would say, when you go home, okay? So mum is going to be taken to a postnatal ward, unless you're on the birth centre, in which case you can all go home together quite quickly. Once mum's taken to the postnatal ward, she'll be settled. The midwives will be there to look after her. She'll have a call bell, which you would have had in the room, you know, until she's taken upstairs, and she's allowed to use the call bell for help, and I would absolutely recommend using it. But you're going to be driving home. So go back to your car. If you don't feel safe to drive, have a caffeinated drink, have something to eat, possibly have a 20-minute power nap in the car, but please don't be tempted to get in the car and drive if you're not capable of it. The NHS have got enough on their plates without car accidents, and nobody will diss you for having a little sleep in the car if you need to. You'll be emotional, you'll be elated, but you will want to get home to your own bed. So just think and evaluate whether or not you really think you're safe to drive before you go anywhere. And on that note, I will say, enjoy the experience. Being a birth partner is the most amazing thing in the world. It will change your life, and it will change how you feel about birth, hopefully for the better. But be there 100% physically, emotionally, spiritually, Whatever mum needs, you're there for her, and then you can freak out later if you need to. So keep well, everybody, stay safe. I'm going to have a quick look at these comments, so bear with me while I put my specs on and have a look, and then hopefully I can ask any questions, so bear with me a second. So Jade, if you have a quick labour before, will you be able to come straight away? Yes, potentially, that the midwife will ask you what's going on at the time, and if they think your labour's progressing quickly, they will absolutely advise you to come in. Can we change our birth partner during labour or after giving birth? No, I'm afraid not. Recommendations are at the moment that it's one birth partner and you don't do any changing. It's to do with the coronavirus. Ordinarily, I think it would be okay, but at the moment it's one birth partner, it's a named birth partner, and it's the same for visitors afterwards, so I'm afraid not at the moment. In answer to your question, I'm not sure if you have to register your birth partner in advance, but once you've introduced your birth partner and your visitor, that's the person and you have to stick to it. Best way to support mum if she gets really shivery and shaky. That is very often to do with adrenaline flow. Could be to do with low blood sugar. So a few things: a hug, a blanket or a cardigan around them, because very often you feel cold when you're shivery or shaky. Something sugary. I have those sports gels. They're made by Sis, I think, are one brand. Sports Direct, or just Google sports gels. They're basically carbohydrates, sugar and a bit of caffeine, and very often they can reduce the shivers and the shakes as well. Rescue Remedy is also a good one if anybody uses Rescue Remedy. And to some extent just waiting, because the ebbs and flows of labour mean that sometimes you get shivery and shaky, and then a few minutes later, shivery and shaky has gone away again. So what else has gone on? What goes into a birth plan? Oh goodness, I could be here for hours talking about what goes into a birth plan. I would say, don't write War and Peace. Page of A4. Stick to the things that are really important to you. So if you have a real pet hate, fear, anxiety over something, put that in your birth plan. If you have any religious or cultural or medical things that somebody needs to know, the midwives need to know, put that in your birth plan. But there's lots of birth plan templates online that you can look at. I think I answered the one about towels. Snacks, what would you recommend if you lose lots of blood? Well, if you lose lots of blood, the hospital will absolutely support you in what you need to eat and drink, but it's iron-rich foods effectively. Anything, snacks and drinks, try and aim for healthy, but some women really just don't fancy healthy when they're going for that. So, but I recommend bananas are superfoods. Sportsmen use them in big sporting events. They have great minerals and vitamins in them. Brilliant for fueling muscles for contractions. Dried nuts, seeds, flapjacks. I've mentioned savoury foods as well. In terms of drinks, sports drinks are great. Obviously full sugar. Lucozade tablets, coconut water, honey if you like it. Lots of women get a lot of benefit out of honey because it's basically pure sugar at certain points in labour. Dried fruit, but there's no limit really to it. Avoid fizzy things because they can make you a little bit barfy. Stretchy neck pants to wear afterwards. Do you know where you can get them from? At the moment, no. I think Boots used to do them. Amazon probably do them as well. But if in doubt, just go a couple of sizes up from what you would normally wear and get, granny pants, the ones that come up high. You don't need any thongs or anything going on like that. Only you've had a baby, the bigger the better. Restrictions I've answered, quick labour I've answered, shivery shaky I've answered. Can we request an enema before labour gets intense? I honestly don't know. I've never had in 150 births anybody ask for an enema. The body has its own way of clearing stuff out, but if you're very constipated before you have your baby, I guess you can recommend one. But generally, in my experience, the body has its own way of clearing stuff out well before labour gets going. And actually, that can be one of the signs that labour's imminent, is that your bowels are suddenly a lot more active than they have been. So I shouldn't worry about that too much. But you might want to check with your midwife what the restrictions in Oxfordshire are. Chantel, you lost your mucus plug this morning. That's great. Most intense cramps. I've managed a bath on all fours. When should I go to hospital? I would say, Chantel, ring the hospital. Speak to your midwife. They will recommend what's going on. They'll ask you lots of questions, but it does sound like potentially you're on your way. So good luck, congratulations. And maybe you'll check in here tomorrow and let us know you had your beautiful baby. But for now, I think I've probably bored you enough. I managed to get away without being interrupted by 3 hungry teenagers. As you can see, I'm quarantined in my kitchen and I've got 2 cats marauding around and neither of them have managed to walk across the screen. So I think I'll quit while I'm ahead. Stay safe, everybody. Stay at home and look forward to meeting your beautiful babies. Good night, everyone. Oh, how do I turn it off?